Kia girl. She starts, she says, "Hi, this is near me on Prince Edward Island. I hope they are found, but it's not looking promising. It's sad. Thank you. And any updates that you guys can provide us as we're watching different news and whatnot." So shout out to Ikamel because I was picking up the story with him, and then it looks like everybody else is picking that up as well. Um, Everybody, come on in, come on in. And I do apologize because I'm gonna be uh hold up 1 minute, y'all. I can hear myself repeating. I'm gonna be in and out of camera because I gotta tend to other stuff as well. But I just wanted to show you. I was looking into this. It is real. It's real, Daisy girl. This is real. Let me tell you a little bit of what we know, and this is the what I'm showing you right now is the Titanic Expedition. This is their website, okay, from OceanGate. But what CNBC News said is what we know about the tourist sub that disappeared on an expedition to the Titanic wreck. I didn't know people. Let me tell you something. I feel like I'm oblivious to this. I didn't know that people actually went on expeditions. I feel pretty ignorant on this topic. I'm not going to lie to you, but I didn't know. Yes. So this is what I've heard too is that a PlayStation controller was being used to control this sub. Mind you, it's going all the way deep to the bottom of the ocean, right? To go check out the Titanic. And they're using a PlayStation controller. I was watching it on Twitter too. I just listen. You are so wrong for saying that. We're not ignorant. We're just poor. Listen, because I mean, the people that were in that boat, I mean, very sad situation, but I didn't know people did that. I'm just being honest with you. I'm obsessed with the Titanic, but not that obsessed. I didn't know people actually. I feel so stupid. I'm just telling you because I remember watching the Titanic. I do, Christine. I was like, I feel so ignorant. Like I don't know that people actually, yeah, 12,500 feet in 2 hours. I didn't know people actually paid to go to like. It sounds like fun. You know how when people say, and this is again my ignorance, but you know how people have talked about how no, it's not the first time. You know how people have talked about how like you can go to space and whatnot. This is how I see this. Like I'm like, ooh, the idea sounds interesting, but I'm not rich enough to do that. Lord have mercy. Lexus like Rose was so selfish. They could have both fitted on that little thing right there. I'm with you on that one. Shame on you, Rose. So this is a real thing. There is an expedition. People do pay for things like this to go. Matter of fact, this is the actual website, and um, they've done, I guess, successful expeditions. But they have a specific time frame that they go expedition dates, summer 2023 and beyond. They've done a couple of them, so it's not like a first time that they've done it. Um, but yeah, there was no stop it, Buddha. Buddha, you about to get kicked out of my chat right now. There was room for Jack. This is an argument I'm willing to have with James Cameron, just so you know. But anyways, let's get real on this one, okay? Because this is a pretty sad situation, right? We do have 5 people in this sub, and I guess are are they? I don't know how to say this, and y'all gonna have to help me with this one. Are they stuck? If the submarine is like, aren't you stuck? Isn't that the appropriate word to use for this? What do you use? How do you say? I'm just curious. But anyways, let me read this article, yo. All right, let's get into it. So there's a massive search ramped up on Tuesday as authorities probe the North Atlantic for a tourist submarine that went missing over the weekend on an expedition to explore the famous Titanic shipwreck. Here's what we know so far about the submersible craft and what may have happened to it. It's what happened. A 5-person crew on a submersible named Titan, owned by the OceanGate Expeditions, submerged on a dive to the Titanic wreckage site Sunday morning. And the crew on the Polar Prince research ship lost contact with the sub about an hour and 45 minutes later. This is what the U.S. Coast Guard said on Monday. The sub was lost in an area about 900 miles east of Cape Cod in the North Atlantic in water with a depth of about 13,000 feet. This is the part that's really sad that I'm about to read. It had about 40 hours of breathable air left as of Tuesday afternoon. This is what a Coast Guard captain by the name of Frederick, Jamie Frederick, said and told reporters during this news conference. We will do everything in our powers to effect a rescue. There's a full-time court press effort to equip on scene as quickly as we can. This is what Frederick said, Captain Frederick, calling the search efforts an incredible, complex operation. Okay, so this is like I said, I feel like I'm a little over my head even talking about it. Maureen says that even naming the craft Titan wasn't wise. The sucker is bolted from the outside with like 18 carbon fiber bolts. Are you serious, Christina? See what I'm saying? Like, I'm so ignorant to this topic. I'm just being serious. Like, I feel like I wouldn't know. In my mind, I'm thinking like this isn't just like you can open the door and go swim up there. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. Even if the surface, they cannot get out without help from the crew. They need the crew to help them, right? But they need to find it first. That's what I think. Yes. And you talking about the ocean. It's dark. There's only 40 hours of breathable air. No bathroom. I mean, is there a bathroom in it? I guess, please forgive me, but that's just how I see this. They lost communication. Hey, Matt, with it. They don't know if it got down or surfaced somewhere else. Oh my gosh. Tight, enclosed spaces are not for me. I couldn't do it, wouldn't be able to handle to breathe, right? There is a billionaire that is in there as well. This is what people have been talking about. That they paid, I think, over 250K to take that trip. I don't know if all, I think it wasn't all five of them that paid, but that they paid somewhere around that amount. People actually pay this amount to go to that's like a house, multiple houses, right? If you think about it, if everybody paid over 250,000, it's multiple houses. So I'm curious to know, but let me see what everybody. Hey, La Boricua says even if they find them down below, they have to be brought up slowly or they will die from the pressure as well. There has to be properly equipped ship nearby to get them. Oh my gosh. And then Internet Hates Machine. Shout out to you. Temps are also dropping at those depths. They're going to get cold fast. Isn't it? I mean, this is cold water, right? I think the billionaire guy is the owner of the sub. Oh, Christina, okay. GPS doesn't work underwater. The potty is literally by the only porthole. They have bottles for the bathrooms in it. Even if they find it, they would suffer. It came back if it came up so fast. Okay. Water is like 30 degrees, I've heard. I mean, my understanding is they have the Coast Guard involved right now. They have 40 hours of oxygen, assuming that they all stay calm, anxiety, panicking. That's a good point. Like, you literally would have to stay calm. The CEO is the captain of the expedition. Okay. They said there might be 40 hours of air left. Said it depends on the circumstances. Oh my gosh. This is sad. This is really sad. So let me keep, and again, this is the website of the OceanGate. I mean, I was looking into this is a real thing. People actually, they have planned dives there. I mean, there's the map. That should just give you an idea of where the Titanic is at. Says up to 96 hours with calm. At 19, I wouldn't have been right, Lex. Who are you telling? The amount of oxygen is theoretical. It wasn't tested. Okay. So we don't even really know. Do you think I've got words? Do you think that's what it is? We really don't know how much oxygen they have. Give me one sec. Okay, so they're going to do everything in their efforts. By Tuesday, crews from the U.S. Coast Guard, Canadian Coast Guard, U.S. Navy, somebody asked about the Navy, and Air National Guard had collectively searched about 7,600 square miles since the sub vanished 2 days prior, according to Frederick. The combined search area is larger than the state of Connecticut, the captain noted. A Coast Guard official said earlier that the people aboard included an operator and 4 mission specialists, a term that the company uses for its passengers. CBS News confirmed that Hamish Harding, a British billionaire and an adventure traveler, is among the group of those missing. That is, oh my gosh. So there's a search and rescue, of course, underway. The story broke on Monday, so that everybody's aware. Let's see, what else is helpful? So search operations continued overnight Monday and onto Tuesday. Then pipe laying vessels arrived in the search area, sent a remotely operated vehicle into the water to search for the sub at its last known location. Coast Guard officials also said that Tuesday the aircraft would fly over the search area throughout the day, and multiple Canadian vessels, including Canadian Coast Guard vessels, expect to arrive in the evening, as well as a U.S. Coast Guard cutter, where on their way in an earlier afternoon, the U.S. Navy was preparing to deploy military assets to assist in the search as well. Officials previously said crew would expand their search on Tuesday to include deeper waters. Oh my God. Just like I'm getting deeper waters. Just imagine. I just, oh, right, right. I can't. I know SM. Oh my, really? There's a father and a son on board too? Okay. Christina says it's estimated that they have enough oxygen until Thursday, 9 a.m. So the clock is basically ticking. Okay. Miss Winter says it's true that the sub had malfunctioned previously. Was that another vessel or was that the same one, Miss Winters? And SW, thank you, SW, for the $5. Ellen, if you're out there, we still care about you over here, Ellen. I hope you're around and shout out to you. The OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush fired the director of the marine operations in 2018 over a disagreement at David's urgency about it being further tested for safety. Stockton is on board. Best case scenario, they imploded, which would have been instant, no pain, and they wouldn't have known what happened. What is okay? So, and I think that that was what they were predicting, right? That it, let me see, imploded submarine. Listen, like I said, I'm completely not really understanding how this works. But I guess that that is supposed to be like, I don't know, like people don't, like it just kind of happens. It makes sense. Pressure hull. Um, it's a grave to load off souls. They shouldn't be there to start with. Oh, oh Jesus. It right glow. It is very scary. I would say it makes more sense. It's only a 4 hour and a half after they left. There's several strong currents that are around the wreckage, and an ex-submarine guy said that this doesn't have engines to help it pull out of these. Yeah, is it possible that we may never know what happened? Pressure increases at depth. You think it imploded? Micro cracks in the hull and had zero safety checks. Only takes one to go and boom, they're gone before they even knew they were dead. But would we know that okay, so here's a crazy question. All right, would if they imploded, would we know about that? I know that that's I just don't know how to ask. And I like I said, it's my ignorance on that. But I am kind of curious to know, like, if that's what happened, would that be something that we would essentially know? And I did type in OceanGate to see kind of what is up. What is everybody in the TikTok land saying about this? Um, People are, they're already creeped out about what's going on. Let's see.
Rush says his submersible is one of the safest forms of transportation in the world.
You believe the Cyclops 2 is pretty much invulnerable.
By the time we're done testing it, I believe it's pretty much invulnerable.
And that's pretty much what they said about the Titanic.
That's right. And I will go on all the first dives, put my money where my mouth is.
Oh my God.
Chip Reed, CBS News, New York. Rush says his submersible is one of the safest forms of transportation in the world.
You believe the Cyclops 2 is pretty much invulnerable.
By the time we're done testing it.
So this was the OceanGate founder talking about the indestructible submarine. Isn't that what they said about the Titanic too? I mean, that's a good point. Y'all, that didn't age well. No, it didn't. It did not age well. Safe as my ass. You're going to the bottom of the ocean in a fishbowl. Ain't that? That's an understatement. My understanding is that there was no certified safety checks. I mean, I just. That's what I'm saying, Tazzy. If it imploded, would we see pieces or would it stay under? That would be my question. It's a scientific question. Pride comes before the fall. How is it considered safe? It was never certified by a legitimate, relevant organization since Marine. In a tin can, really? Ego. Lord have mercy. I mean, you're going to have to eat these words, sir.
I believe it's pretty much invulnerable.
And that's pretty much what they said about the Titanic.
That's right.
Oh my God.
And
How long was this
on
interview?
all the first dives, put my money where my mouth is.
Chip Reed, CBS News, New York. Rush
That's
says
crazy.
his submersible is one of
an experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified.
Hold up. This was 5 months ago. Hold my purse. 5 months ago? CBS reports from 5 months ago? Let me hit play on this, yo. Y'all watching this?
By any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Where do I sign?
Oh, take your shoes off. That's customary.
Okay. Wow. Inside, the sub has about as much room as a minivan.
So this is not your grandfather's submersible.
Oh.
We only have one button. That's it. It should be like an elevator. It shouldn't take a lot of skill.
The Titan is the only 5-person sub in the world that can reach Titanic depths, 2.4 miles below the sea. It's also the only one with a toilet, sort of. And yet I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
We can use these off-the-shelf components. I got these from Camper World. We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on! It seems like this submersible has some elements of MacGyver-y.
Wait. Did you guys see? Did you see this? Huh? Did you see this? Let me replay it again, all right? Let me replay it. Did y'all see this? Hold up.
An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Where do I sign?
Oh, take your shoes off. That's customary.
Okay. Wow. Inside, the sub has about as much room as a minivan.
So this is not your grandfather's submersible. We only have one button. That's it. It should be like an elevator. It shouldn't take a lot of skill.
The Titan is the only 5-person sub in the world that can reach Titanic depths, 2.4 miles below the sea. It's also the only one with a toilet, sort of. And yet I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
We can use these off-the-shelf components. I got these from Camper World. We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on! It seems like this submersible has some elements of MacGyver-y jerry-riggedness.
Oh my
I mean, you're
God.
putting construction pipes as ballast.
I don't know if I'd use that description of it, but there's
An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result.
So, okay. Let me stop. Okay. Right. That's what I'm thinking too. So they can use a game remote, right? Where's my Xbox remote? I have it somewhere. I have an Xbox somewhere. They can use a game remote, right? They could totally do that. Thank you. I got an Xbox remote. Look, something like this. Okay? It's an Xbox remote. They had 5 people in there. It's the size of a minivan. Did I hear that correct? I feel like I have to hear it again. Because I like, here we are 5 months later and we're going through this. This is crazy, yo. Oh my God. They use pool noodles? Hey, by the way, La Boricua, you guys, anybody else watch the curse words because it immediately blocks you. So you can say F, but misspell it. That is insane. But it's controlled by this. Well, we have a PS4 too, but this is an Xbox. It's controlled by this. Y'all see that? Let me replay this, yo, because I feel like I like, is this real? Is this real? And it's not regulated?
An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Where do I sign?
Oh, take your shoes off. That's customary.
Wait.
Okay. Wow.
They make them sign waivers too before they go in this vessel. Is that what what are the waivers supposed to? I am feeling Preba, you're not. I'm definitely. I have a van bigger than y'all are saying. Right. Yeah. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just like flabbergasted, behooved, and flabbergasted by this. I didn't know.
Inside, the sub has about as much room as a minivan.
So this is not your grandfather's submersible. We only have one button. That's it. It should be like an elevator.
Interesting.
It shouldn't take a lot of skill.
The Titan is the only 5-person sub in the world that can reach Titanic depths, 2.4 miles below the sea. It's also the only one with a toilet, sort of. And yet I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
We can use these off-the-shelf components.
I got these from Camper World. We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on! It seems like this submersible has some elements of MacGyver-y jerry-riggedness.
Girl.
I mean, you're putting construction pipes as ballast.
I don't know if I'd use
Oh
that
my God.
description of it, but there's
An experimental
This is
So the missing
crazy.
submersible has been covered by news outlets. Plenty of
And let me read some of these comments before I go to the next clip. You couldn't pay me enough to go in there. CR says, I didn't know this. CR says that there's no regulatory body that governs homemade watercraft. I didn't know that. Well, I mean, if it's homemade, I guess. But they're allowed to get in the water? Like there's nothing that stops them from not getting in the water though? CR, like, if there's nothing that's no regulatory body that governs it, then why are they allowed to get in the water? I mean, listen, that's my ignorance, okay? Bruja, vete pa'l carajo with the PS2 remote. I hear you, Bruja, on that one. I'm telling you, I hear you. I hear you on that one. So probably no regulations on open water, right? Girl, it's my ignorance. I'm just telling you. The hysteria and terror they're probably experiencing, they will use the oxygen real quick. Well, Patricia, let me ask you guys a question. Would they know that I guess you would know that you've lost contact, right? But if they imploded, then they're gone. Because they're considered researchers, not passengers. How the heck do you get insurance for that if you can't regulate it? Can't regulate under open water. How would you? Jimmy says because they paid 250 grand a piece. I mean, money talks, yo. People will look away and stuff.
Of times in the past. And just last year, a CBS News correspondent said that the submersible was lost on the seafloor for a few hours. However, it never lost full communication with the mothership. This gives you an idea of just how small this mini sub is. It's about the size of a minivan. You've got 5 people packed in here. This photo is not a photo of the actual explorers that are missing, but this gives you an idea of just how small it is. And if they've lost power, electricity, is going to be completely dark. Also, to get out, you can only get out if somebody from the outside opens the door. You are bolted in here. There is a safety mechanism on board that if it was activated, this is floating somewhere on the ocean, and that would be a better case scenario, obviously. However, this means that the search is twofold. Not only are they searching below the surface and in the depths of the ocean in a very remote part of the Atlantic, they're also searching on top to see if this is floating somewhere. The absolute worst case scenario is this thing imploded on the way down, which is not survivable. The French diver that is on board was interviewed by a news outlet a few years ago, and he was asked if he is scared of exploring the depths of the ocean with all the risks that are involved. He said that before you even know something is wrong, you are dead. This here is said to be one of the last photos of the submarine before it's submerged for its expedition. Now, in less than an hour at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, there will be a press conference held by the Coast Guard and the partners that are involved in this search. They're expected to give an update. So the missing submersible has been covered by news outlets.
Shout out to that TikToker. CR, shout out to CR. He says that wow. Listen, shout out to all my marine biologists. I didn't even know I had some in here. CR says, I'm a marine biologist. A person can descend into the depths of the sea in whatever creation they wish without penalty. We see, CR, some of us, for me, I'll speak for myself, I'm just ignorant in the topic. So I appreciate that you're in my chat and giving me the knowledge, because I literally I'm thinking like I'm looking to see who's responsible. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to know who do we have to fire? What do we need to do? But I didn't know that. Oh, Quimbella, maybe a dumb question. How do you see the Titanic if it's so dark? No, that's a good question too. I don't know. I mean, doesn't the vessel have like whatchamacallit, like lights to it or something? At least the ones that I've seen. Let me play some of this. So they had the conference earlier. Let's see if I can get it right when the Coast Guard is speaking on this. Let's see. And this is with WFLA News 8.
But there is no evidence at this time that there was any marine wildlife involved in the loss of communication. We've got about another 2 minutes, and as we are getting ready for this press conference, sitting down here in the Stream Center, WFLA's Josh.
Let me see if I can go a little faster.
Command, consisting of expertise from the United States Coast Guard, the United States Navy, Canadian Armed Forces and Coast Guard, and the Titan's parent company, OceanGate Expedition. This is a complex search effort which requires multiple agencies with subject matter expertise and specialized equipment. While the U.S. Coast Guard has assumed the role of search and rescue mission coordinator, we do not have all of the necessary expertise and equipment required in a search of this nature. The Unified Command brings that expertise and additional capability together to maximize effort in solving this very complex problem.
This is a stupid question, and Lex, you kind of made me think about this. I am not the best swimmer. Look, this is me thinking. would people go into this expedition if they don't know how to swim? Like, do people go into these expeditions? Like, is that a requirement for you to know how to swim if you're gonna go into these expeditions? Is that a dumb question to ask? I really want to know. Because I would not, you would not, even though I'm intrigued by trying to see what the water looks like in the Titanic, trust me, I would be curious to know if you have to know how to swim.
We're out of order here. As a recap, on Sunday, the Coordination Command Center in Boston received a report from the Canadian expedition vessel Polar Prince of an overdue 21-foot submarine Titan with 5 people on board. The Titan was attempting to dive on the wreck of the Titanic approximately 900 miles east of Cape Cod and 400 miles south of St. John's, Newfoundland. Approximately 1 hour and 45 minutes into the scheduled dive, the Polar Prince lost all communication with the Titan. The Polar Prince conducted an initial search and then requested Coast Guard assistance. The U.S. Coast Guard in Boston assumed the responsibility of search and rescue mission coordinator and immediately launched search assets. Since Sunday, the Coast Guard has coordinated search efforts with the U.S. and Canadian Coast Guard, Air National Guard aircraft, and the Polar Prince, which has searched a combined 7,600 square miles, an area larger than the state of Connecticut. These search efforts have focused on both surface, with C-130 aircraft searching by sight and with radar, and subsurface, with P-3 aircraft were able to drop and monitor sonar buoys.
Wow.
To date, those search efforts have not yielded any results. Search efforts have continued through last night and today. Today, the vessel Deep Energy, a 194-meter pipe-laying vessel, arrived on scene with underwater ROV capability.
Let me show you. So I just found something. Give me one sec, you guys. I got to show you what I just found. I'm on their OceanGate website, and if you go on the website, it shows you the subs that they have. Look, the Titan, okay, 4000M. These are the I guess vessel. Is that what you call it, a vessel that they have? Validation dive. Here it is. This is what it looks like. Okay. So let me go down here. So the founder is Stockton Rush. Completed the Titan 4000 meter validation dive in December of 2018. Not only did this dive completely validate OceanGate's innovation engineering and the construction of the Titan carbon fiber and titanium hull, it also means that all systems are go for the 2019 Titanic Survey Expedition, the world's deepest adventure scheduled for June to August 2019. Thank you, SW, who says, I just saw the super chat on my other device, but I can't see it here on the screen yet. But you're saying being able to swim doesn't matter at the depths. It won't matter. You will not survive the climb up. Too much pressure, says SW. See, that just goes with my lack of knowledge in the topic. So thank you for that. But this is the website. This tells you about the vessel. Like, oh my gosh. Which so on this dive, Rush became only the second person in history, along with James Cameron, the guy that made the Titanic, to complete the dive solo to this depth. A series of deep manned dives were conducted in the Bahamas from July into December and followed a methodical approach to validate the sub at specific depths. The first manned dive to 4,000 meters took place on Monday, December 10th, 2018, approximately 12 miles east of Little Harbor. Wow. On Great Abaco Island. This is crazy. It took Stockton over 7 hours to complete the recording breaking dive, which included multiple pauses during the descents to assess the integrity of the hull on OceanGate's patent pending real-time monitoring system. The monitors and the acoustic emission from the carbon fiber structure. That is great. Look at this. I'm sorry, y'all. These pictures are so creepy to me. I cannot. Hold up. Let me show y'all. Let me get back to the news so we can understand what's going on here. One sec, y'all.
They have rendezvoused with the vessel Polar Prince and commenced an ROV dive at the last known of the position of the Titan and the approximate position of the Titanic wreck. That operation is currently ongoing. Additionally, a Canadian P-3 aircraft is currently conducting a 6-hour search of the area, and several C-130 aircraft and another P-3 are scheduled to fly this afternoon and this evening. The Canadian Coast Guard cutter or vessel, John Cabot, is scheduled to arrive later this evening, and several other Canadian Coast Guard vessels and the Coast Guard cutter Sycamore are en route. Additionally, the U.S. Coast Guard has the U.S. Navy's SUPSAL, Supervisor of Salvage and Diving Command, is working with U.S. Transportation Command to bring additional assets to the search area. These more capable assets will be staged at a St. John's for further transport to the search area. There are also several private vessels, research vessels with ROV capabilities that are making preparations to join the efforts. So I want to reiterate, this is a very complex search, and the unified team is working around the clock to bring all available assets and expertise to bear as quickly as possible in an effort to solve this very complex problem. We'll continue to provide updates as they become available. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with the crew and the families and their loved ones. We will provide unwavering effort as we continue the search. And I think at this time we'll open it up and take a few questions. So each of the ROVs, so that's kind of a vague question, right? ROVs have different capability. It's our understanding the current ROV that is deployed at the site now has some limited capability. It has a camera on board. But again, each of those is different, and we'll be gathering more information as that operation goes on through the day.
Captain, it's Tom Costello with NBC News. If your submersibles can find this sub, is there any way to retrieve it and save the people on board?
Yeah, so right now, all of our efforts are focused on finding the sub. What I will tell you is we have a group of our nation's best experts in the Unified Command. And if we get to that point, those experts will be looking at what the next course of action is.
Captain, how many hours of oxygen are left that you know of, or that you can estimate right now on the submersible? And does it have to be approved or regulated?
Sure. So first of all, it's an estimate, right? Because we know from the data we were using as a starting point was 96 hours. We know at this point we're approximately about 41 hours.
41 hours left.
Yes.
And does it have to be approved or regulated? Does submersible, does it go through anything that you know of?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact technical piece of that. We know there's about 40 hours of breathable air left based on that initial report. Again, that was just the initial report based on 96 hours from when the vessel.
Captain, even with that amount of time that's left, let's say 41 hours or so, if you were to find the submersible at this moment, would that give you enough time to save these 5 people on board?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. What I will tell you is we will do everything in our power to effect a rescue. Again, it's going to depend on if the ROV finds something. It's going to depend on what they find, what needs to be, what steps need to be taken next, and really that is for the experts within the Unified Command to take a look at and then decide what the best course of action is.
It seems to have taken the mothership vessel, or those running this operation, about 8 hours to contact you on Sunday after they lost contact with the sub. Is that a cause of concern?
Listen, right now, our effort and our focus is on searching. Received the report on Sunday evening. We immediately launched search efforts. We flew assets that evening, and we've continued constant surface and air asset searches since that point.
You mentioned that the search operation is very complicated. What are the biggest challenges you're facing?
Well, this is a complex search, and it's complex for a variety of reasons. You're talking about a search area that's 900 miles east of Cape Cod, 400 miles south of St. John's. So logistically speaking, it's hard to bring assets to bear. It takes time. It takes coordination. And then we're dealing with, two pieces of, you're dealing with a surface search and a subsurface search. And frankly, that makes it an incredibly complex operation.
Captain, will the U.S. Navy or the Canadian Navy be able to get salvage equipment on time before the air runs out?
Obviously, getting salvage equipment on scene is a top priority. Unified Command is working through that to prioritize what equipment we can get there. There are ongoing operations right now via the U.S. Navy and Transcom to get equipment
That is
staged in
crazy.
St. John's and to get it on scene. I can't give you an exact timeline of when that's going to happen. But what I can tell you is there is a full court press effort to get equipment on scene as quickly as we can.
Is that equipment already on the East Coast, though, or is it coming from the Pacific, for example?
No, so some of the equipment that's coming is coming from the East Coast, but again, we're talking about very heavy equipment. It's a complicated transport operation, but the best professionals in the world are working it, and that's U.S. Transcom.
Yeah, when it comes to the equipment, can you put in more detail? Do you have a Curve 21 that's being shipped up to that location? And since you don't have the fleet type vessel to be back to the decommission, what other assets you have? You have civilian ships.
Yeah, so like I said, there are several civilian ships that have offered services heading that way. There are additional Coast Guard cutters. We hope to have a Canadian Coast Guard cutter on scene this evening. We hope that they may be able to assume on-scene commander. Polar Prince has been doing a great job with those duties, but if we could take some of that from them, that would be good. But your question about specific equipment, I'm not going to get into talking about specific equipment. Frankly, I'm not an expert on what that equipment is. But again, I can tell you, we have experts in the Unified Command that are going through that, prioritizing what we need, and then how we get it on scene.
Can you tell us about the personnel from Boston? How many people from here are out there, and also what equipment?
From Boston specifically, so Boston, where Boston plays a role is the command center, the rescue and coordination center is here in Boston. The aircraft that are coming in are coming from different locations, but the command structure is being worked out of Boston. And I think
Yo, this is a lot. And just so everybody knows, my chat is messed up on StreamYard. I'm not seeing the latest comments, so hopefully it updates pretty soon. I'm seeing everybody's comments on my phone, and I could see that StreamYard is not getting the updates, but I'm seeing different comments and whatnot. So the Ocean Wild says the Titanic is about 13 feet to it's 13 feet to the Titanic. Why wouldn't they have scuba gear on board? Even Suzanne, but even if they did, does it make a difference though if they're bolted in this vessel? Like, would it make? See, I don't know. I'm asking. Would it make a difference? Yo, my chat needs to hurry up and update. All right, let me hit play on this, y'all.
we have time for two more questions.
In all your experience, just how unique is the Coast Guard ever?
Well, I don't want to speak about it. The Coast Guard is ever. I would tell you it's a unique operation. It's a challenging operation, but right now we're focused on putting everything we can at it and searching as hard as we can and getting the assets out there as quickly as we can.
They can't, Amy. You're sealed in.
Yeah, there are some additional assets with ROVs. There is one asset that is working to get on scene with a decompression chamber. So those are all pieces that are coming together, and we're working those logistical challenges to get them there. And I think we'll take one more. Well, I can't tell you exactly what it would look like. I would tell you that we are out there. We're searching. We wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't be searching and putting all effort out there.
This is crazy. And by the way, StreamYard is messing up on the chat, but I see everybody's comments on my phone. So Spaz Baby says, I think there's only about approximately 30 hours left of air. I hope they find them. Me too. I was wondering the same since they bolted inside. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if they're bolted inside. It wouldn't matter if they had scuba gear, right? Charlie says the oxygen won't be enough as they will be panicking. DBS on the streets. Welcome, my love. It's so cold and dark down there, and the pressure is insane, right? Oh my gosh. So they're sealed from the mothership above, no way out. Also, if they attempt to open it, they would instantly die due to the implosion. Most wildest thing I've ever seen. I cannot, but here's the deal. This isn't like CR said, this isn't regulated. Like, did they know what they were getting themselves into? It might crazy for asking that question? I'm just wondering, like, they're signing these waivers. We saw that CBS report. I'm gonna see if I could pull the original CBS report. Okay.
I think that, if the sub is located, that's a question that then the experts need to look at what is the best course of action for recovering the sub. But I think it's going to depend on that particular situation and if we encounter that.
Sir, is it true that the British offered assistance and they were told we don't need your assistance at this point?
No, I'm not aware of that. Again, what I would tell you though is that the Unified Command is working through prioritizing. We know that there's equipment out there that can be brought to the scene. The Unified Command is working through prioritizing what equipment we need and then how we get it there.
And the French are also responding to the ship as well?
Yes, it's my understanding. Correct. And I think we're going to wrap it there. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys coming out today. Glue this portion of the brief on there. I can stay behind just to take some additional stuff that maybe wasn't answered. We can try to get some information back to you kind of later.
Yeah. About the navigator here for base in Boston.
Yeah.
So are they not out there? Are they just working here?
Right. So the Rescue Coordination Center that he's talking about specifically, that's based in Boston. So the personnel that are working in the command and control environment, as far as building a lot of the search and rescue plans, sending out the information, coordinating those pieces, are here. The people affecting the mission, so the pilots, the air crews, all of the ships, those are based out of different areas. So our pilots, air crews are out of Elizabeth City, North Carolina. The Coast Guard cutter Sycamore, I believe, is out of Newport, Rhode Island, but they were operating already in the Arctic. So there are a number of people that are here working in that staff element, but are not physically located out in the search area, if that makes sense. It is, yes.
Does OceanGate have another submersible that they could try to send down there?
I don't know.
It sounds like, for the most part, the staging area is moving to St. John's.
So I believe, yeah, a lot of it into St. John, Newfoundland, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's so our aircraft, the C-130 aircraft, they're based out of there as well. So I know there is a number of pieces going out there. Logistically, it's easier as opposed to from here.
Talk about Transcom organizing the different assets available. I asked Transcom, and they didn't know you guys.
Okay.
So can you give a little bit more clarity on what kind of assets you have put in the water? I specifically asked about the Code 41.
Yeah.
Is there one on the way?
I don't know. I don't know.
This is a mess. StreamYard is driving me crazy. I can't see your guys' comments up here, but I can see them on my device. Oh my gosh. So, okay, keep this in mind. So I found the original report from CBS News, and we're going to play it in a little bit. Keep this in mind. In the description of this report, it said that these are enthusiasts that go and want to see the Titanic. So these are, specific people. I'm just wondering if when James Cameron did his trip down there, was there anybody else after him? I mean, I know that there's a CEO that did it, but anybody else that also tried? Because, this is so dangerous. And like I said, it's not regulated, but yet it's these kinds of events that, they're not regulated, and we're using search and rescue and whatnot to come over here and take care of the situation and address everything as they should. But I'm saying, like, something's got to change on this. This is just scary.
Answer that. So I know a lot of those questions were unanswered on there, and it's a lot of it's because we're not the right agency to be asking that. I know as a new command, we should be to be the one to give the answer to you, but we want you guys to hear it from the subject matter experts. So that's our next plan. Is what we want to do is give an opportunity for you all to get all of the subject matter experts we can into one location to kind of get those questions answered, to give you kind of the best thing we can do.
You anticipated that in those 40 hours, when that becomes a recovery mission, if you choose to do a recovery mission?
I'm sorry.
When those 40 hours are up that you gave for the estimate, is that the moment you shift from a search and rescue to a recovery operation, if you choose to do a recovery operation, given the difficulties?
I think it really depends on a number of factors. So anything that could change between now and then, as far as information response, things like that could change that. So it's not a hard and fast, timer's up, time to transition. There's a lot of factors that go into it.
Oh, that's something to keep in mind.
Something like that.
Excuse me, what role does the amount of oxygen play in one of those factors? And with 40 hours of oxygen left, when would you then transition from a search and rescue to a search and recovery?
I don't know an answer to that. That's definitely outside, but we can try to get back to as we transition through that phase. We'll have better answers for that.
Is there information about the conditions out there, like what exactly are facing?
So the weather wise, yep. So actually, I have I believe the weather on scene today was 5 to 6 foot seas.
What does that mean? So sorry, like the wave.
So wave height 5 to 6 feet. I believe it was 15 knot winds. Visibility was very foggy yesterday with very little nose visibility, but was increasing today, and they were expecting much better conditions from an aerial search perspective.
So it's like 6 waves today.
Yes.
And it's clear in terms of visibility. High winds persist, or
It was 15 knot winds. So in terms, it's about average out there, right?
How long would it take a typical Coast Guard vessel from the U.S. or, for that matter, from Newfoundland to get on site if they're running at maximum speed?
That depends on the cutter itself or the ship itself, because they all have different speeds.
Yeah. But you have an average, just so we have a feel for how long it would take to get there?
Well, depending on where they're coming from, it could be a matter of 2 days up to 4 to 5 days. It just depends on where they would be deploying from.
Yes, and shout out to Ocean Wild says, I'm a local to the ongoing situation. The oxygen is also estimated. This hasn't been tested before under variable conditions, so we really don't know, yo. Nanya, is it Nanya Business says, not every single activity needs to be regulated, and perhaps we shouldn't be doing all this searching either. Well, that is your opinion, my love. I just have I feel like, this is where we differentiate, and that is okay. Carbon dioxide builds up by shedding CO2. Is it scrubbers? I'm a local. Yeah, I just read that. So you're local to that ongoing situation is a submersible, not a submarine. There's a lot. Okay, thank you for correcting. This is what I'm saying, guys. I'm so ignorant to the situation, so I appreciate you giving me the heads up, and let me actually fix that as well as I'm typing this up on my titles and whatnot. Thank you for giving me the heads up on that, my love. Yeah, can you that's a good question, Bama Liz. Can you let us know the what is the difference? Somebody in the chat let us know. What is the difference? Let me type that up, submer. And I'm looking at your comment, okay, just so you're aware. Thank you for the heads up again. Okay, so Charlie says submarine doesn't go that far and is able to open from the inside. Okay. See what I'm saying? It's like I had no clue. Okay, so that's good to know. Thank you for that.
For Newfoundland, for example,
I don't know. We don't have any ships up there, so I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Canadian, we're trying to find out more information on the Canadian vessels that are assisting on there, sort of what their capability and speeds are. I just don't have an answer for you on that right now.
Does the Coast Guard have a line on a piece of equipment that is capable of going down to the Titanic?
The Coast Guard specifically, no. This type of salvage operation in our expertise as an organization is
no. In terms of private companies, have you reached?
So that's all part of the conversation with Unified Command to find out what capabilities are out there and explore all avenues that they
You're looking at that now.
The Coast Guard is usually pretty quick about releasing videos and photos and things like that from their operations. Is there a specific reason why you haven't from this operation?
We just haven't received any yet at this point.
Thank you. And none of your business said, this is a good point to make out. Thank you, none of your business. Submersibles has to have a motherboard. Okay. Yo, thank you. Submersibles, thank you, Darcy, has a motherboard. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys. So it's communicated with the mothership via text. Gotcha. Yo, I'm learning a lot today, I'm telling you.
We do expect to get some. Like I said, we do have some graphics that we're trying to look to send out this afternoon, as well as we've reached out to the aircraft crews to get footage from them. Now I know with the ROVs that are on scene today, like I said, there just hasn't been any before, so we've are requesting out there to try and see what we can get to go through that and try to make that available to you all.
Right now, there are no assets on sea that will retrieve. Is that correct?
I don't have an answer to that.
Not have any assets that will be right now, correct?
The Coast Guard assets itself, no, we do not have any Coast Guard cutters on sea.
The other ones that are on sea.
No, so the research vessels, I just don't know what the capabilities are.
Do you think it's pretty unrealistic that it has made its way to the surface and it's waiting to be spotted? Because you've done all of these aerial searches. Are you quite confident it's in the water?
That's why we have both types of assets, because we don't want to exhaust one possibility in vice of another. So we don't want to rule out that it is on the surface. And the way that our crews train, this is the environment they train in. They're specialized in being able to see these things from the air. So they've given it everything that they have to it. And if it's on the surface, we're fairly certain that we would be able to find it.
You wouldn't find out.
No, that we will find it if it is on the surface.
Do you think it's more likely
It's impossible to say.
Can I just ask you to, I realize this may be challenging, you may not have the answer, but we're trying to get a sense of how far away the nearest naval asset would be that has that lift capability, salvage capability. Is it coming from North Carolina, from Florida, from Boston? Can you give us any idea of how far away it might be?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that. Yeah.
Do you know if anybody, do you know if that vessel has a finger or some other way of communicating with them?
From the research vessel?
The Titan.
Yeah. Oh, communicating with them? Yeah, I don't have specifics on technology on board.
We understand they've lost contact in the past on other expeditions. Has the Coast Guard ever been involved with them?
Not to my knowledge.
But OceanGate is cooperating with the investigation.
Absolutely. They're part of the unified command in here, so we're all making decisions together.
So do they have anything else that could go down? Start without moving.
I don't know. But if they do, it's definitely being discussed as far as their capabilities.
Wait, they tell you if they had? So it doesn't sound that cool.
So I was able to look up too, and thank you guys, Nunya and Charlie. Okay, it was a it was a Logitech controller. It wasn't a PS4 like they were showing in that one video. I'm looking at the comments because StreamYard is doing something wonky over here and I can't see your guys' comments. So I was searching to see what the difference is between those two. And a submarine has enough power to leave a port and come back to port under its own power. But a submersible has more limited power and range. It needs a mothership from which to launch, to return, and support and communication. Okay, and for support and communication. So that's the difference. So you guys, everybody knows what the difference is, or I guess they're not the same. I mean, you would have tricked me. I would have thought it was one thing. I didn't think it was anything different. So thank you those that were correcting me on that. Let me see. Let me hit play on this.
I don't understand.
Like, it sounds like the nearest vessel, but it's not clear how long it takes for the vessel there.
And that's the biggest part of the challenge of all of this, is trying to understand how the capabilities are working together, how they would do it, the technical aspect of that.
So if you're a family member of somebody on board, do you have a message for the family?
I think it was clearly stay with Captain Frederick.
Could we ask you, could you just describe, the crush depth here? We're talking about 400 times, as I understand it, what we all experience at sea level. What can that do to a vessel?
I can't speak to the scientific side of that. Again, this is just more or less trying to get some background information for you guys on there. I don't have any of that information on that.
Can you tell us about what the circumstances were? Submersible doesn't necessarily, it goes in for a dive and walks right back up. It's not supposed to be there for that long. Is there?
And that would be a great question that we could try to get answered for you with that subject matter expert.
That's are they hackable? Nunya says, aren't those game controllers hackable? Lord, that does not make me feel. It's wireless, not was. LOL. I wonder if the passengers on the submersible know, or are they as clueless as the passengers on the Titanic were? Is the band still playing? Oh gosh, Bama Liz. They have spare controllers on board. Wait. So help me understand this. Are they so they're controlling it within the inside, right? With like a Logitech. Is that how you call it? Right? Not a game remote. They're controlling it from the inside, right? I don't have a good feeling about it either. Don't forget, it's Simon. Yeah, what happens if you can't, like, if there's limited power, where are you supposed to charge it? I wanted to read a comment that I saw from Simon Bumblebee Berry. You can see on Google the movements of the mothership. It's a path. It's searching everywhere since Sunday. Wow. I didn't know. Wow. The entire process makes me worried. And yes, they have the Logitech controller on the inside controlling it. That's crazy. I don't know what the, oh my goodness. Cape says, Rabbit, yes, they control it from the inside from a wireless controller, like a game controller. But the Titan lost power, so they lost communication instantly by losing power. And there's no like backup generator for this, right? That's Jenny. But, and you're saying hopefully there's a generator on board on the mothership. There is no, is there a backup generator to this? They lost the Starlink. That's what Charlie has been trying to tell us in the chat, by the way. Shout out to Charlie, that they lost the Starlink, right? So Amy says, I think they're down to 37 hours at best, if not a panic mode. Listen, people are doing like, I'm looking on Twitter. It's a little creepy because people are actually doing countdowns on this. I don't know why. We don't even know if it was like, if it imploded. Mike says that they bought this controller. You could buy a controller like that for $30. CL, I am so claustrophobic too. Says I had panic attacks at Disneyland when I was a kid, just being in the fake little submarine ride they have. That, and they have a special, oh gosh, Vic's like they have a special on it, which is what they're using to communicate. The Starlink was shut off 5 hours before anyone even notified. Oh my gosh. Okay, Cape says, well, hold on. ADAS Starlink, I'm sure needs power. So if they lost power, of course, the Starlink won't work. So there is no like backup generator or anything like that. Wow. That's crazy. Ocean says, you're doing a good thing by covering the story. I admire that you also acknowledge it. I am unsure, you guys. So I appreciate, first of all, thank you. I'm unsure, and I'm definitely, I mean, some of you guys are unsure as well, and I appreciate that. You already know. I don't pretend to know it all. Okay, just note that. And so if I can be corrected, I'm open to that because I'm a real rabbit. Okay, Simon says that if it implodes, it would be reduced to the size of an oh my gosh. Lord have mercy, my head is just hurting thinking about this, you guys. If it loses connection, they still have thrusters on the side that would allow the pilot to maneuver and surface. Okay, the mothership is shut off. Oh my gosh. All right. Let me continue playing this because I kind of want to jump to the other videos.
Discussion that we talked about to get an opportunity for you guys to ask that question, because it'd be much more important and realistic for somebody within that community, part of the command, that would be able to answer that question a lot clearer than anything I would be able to. So,
when might you provide your next update?
So we do have a press release that's going to be going out shortly with the graphics we talked about. Probably similar information to what was passed today. If any new information comes up, we'll update that. But I think ideally we'd be putting out press releases daily, and would look at probably doing another briefing tomorrow.
Can I just ask you one last?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Could you just reiterate for us? How big of an urgency is this for the Coast Guard? How big of a priority? Do you prioritize these things? In other words, do you classify them as priority red, 1, 2, 3? How big of a priority is this?
This operation is our top priority right now. Within the district, we have, every available asset that we can that's to this that we can dedicate to it on this. That's why we are spending so much time and energy trying to coordinate really this enormous response effort to truly understand the scale of how far away this truly is. And in the context of the types of assets that we can get out there over something that's that enormous, something larger than the state of Connecticut, into perspective of what is available to be able to search in those kind of conditions so far offshore. Understand, 900 miles looks like is an enormous amount of distance.
I mean, I pitched the lesson before, but is a deep sea rescue effort realistic, and what would that look like?
I don't know what it would look like. Realistic, and that's all part of the conversation in Unified Command. They're looking at doing everything that they can to find out the options that are available.
Thanks. And family members have indicated the 5 people on board. Is there an official manifest or log saying exactly who was on that vessel?
There is one there. So not until all the NIST notifications have been completed through that process can we release names in that way. I know that some have gotten out, but they have not been through us.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you. And we'll send out an update when the next advisory or advisory will be out for you guys.
That is just
Not that I'm aware of. That nothing that we are setting up. Now, I don't know if they are up there independent. I'm hoping that they would at least reach out to us to let us know so we can help kind of amplify that. But no.
If the Canadians take over the on-site command out on the water, would then command move to St. John, or would it remain here? The ICC.
No, I think more or less what he's talking about with the ship being out there is they can actually control the assets that are physically on site as far as where they're going, less that the operation itself is in command. So it would be in here. So resources to come up with all of those plans, come up with all of the search and rescue operation side. Will likely always stay here. When we say like an on-scene commander, they're just the one that's on scene physically that can communicate with everyone to make sure that we're deconflicting airspace, that we're covering the right areas, that people are searching.
You guys collaborate every day, I'm guessing, right?
We do. This one's just especially challenging because you just add in an additional layer of distance, of time, of all those other elements with it.
this is just sad.
The big thing that we learned in this press conference is the number 40 hours. Make sure that I have my audio up. You hear me, Josh? You got me? Okay.
Gotcha.
40 hours of oxygen as of this press conference remaining. You might be wondering, okay, when is 40 hours into the future? That is Thursday, 5 a.m. Eastern. So it is quite literally, Josh, a race against the clock as a search is being conducted by air in C-130s, P-3 aircraft, as well as now an underwater ROV that is down there searching near the wreckage of the Titanic, or we don't know how far deep down, but at least over the wreckage of the Titanic, looking for any signs of the Titan sub that went missing upon diving on Sunday, aiming, of course, for the wreckage of the Titanic. Josh Benson, JB Buno here with you live. We're going to be getting to your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh questions and comments.
All right.
Josh, what are your big takeaways from this press conference?
It sounds like they're pretty much directing traffic because it sounds like the resources are there, but their big issue now is, all right, is Europe going to help? Is the United States going to help? Where are we going to allow these different resources to come in, and how are we going to do so in an organized way? So it sounds like they, as you mentioned, they have that ROV, which is a remotely operated underwater vehicle. So basically they sent that remotely operated vehicle right in the spot where it started to dive, and they're sending that down. So as far as I understand, that's not a manned device. That's just a vessel that goes down, they control by remote control with a camera on it. Now, they said it has limited capabilities. So that might mean it probably can't get down to the Titanic, but it could probably get halfway there.
Thought it was fascinating that the Coast Guard said, we don't have a water vessel capable of going down 13,000 feet. That to me, and not all that surprising. That's an incredible depth. You would imagine the U.S. Navy would probably have something more, more equipped to be able to go down to that depth. But that's why this is a public and private partnership trying to bring in all resources possible to try to find the Titan sub.
And NATO also said that as well. Their capabilities are super limited in terms of what they have for a vessel that can get to those depths. It can't. So that's a big challenge. But then I thought it was interesting too. They asked the question, what happens if you find it? How do you get the people out? Well, he responded, the job is to find it, and then the experts will come in to figure out how we get the people out. So they got to find it first, which is the needle in the haystack question. Like, where do we even begin to try to look? There's questions about, did the hull, was it damaged? Did they take on water? If that's the case, that thing could be anywhere. But if it's just kind of hanging out without any power, and hopefully this ROV can find it, then it's a matter of how do we get this thing back to the surface. And as you know, they can't just open the door. They're sealed inside, so they would have to have professionals come in and take off the cap of that thing to try to let people out.
Yeah, the idea would be to get this to the surface,
right?
And, you could hear there in both the follow-up press conference that existed and during the press conference that there is a higher level of confidence that if this Titan sub did make it to the surface, that they will find it eventually. The problem really exists is if the Titan sub is still underwater, and of course, the deeper that it is, the more difficult it is going to be to locate and find, because the ROV, as Josh mentioned, it's not capable of going down likely to 10,000 feet plus. So if the sub is really far down in the depths of the Atlantic, that is going to create a very challenging environment for all entities, both public and private, as far as finding the Titan sub. I thought it was interesting. I jotted down, I think it was 6 or 7 times, the amount of times that officials use the word complex. This is a complex search in a remote area of the Northern Atlantic. And we have, of course, because of there being so many complications, we have a lot of questions and comments that are coming in. We're going to start to feature some of your questions and comments. Josh, how long do you have with us on stream? Because I know that you got ready.
15 minutes.
Okay, so we're going to do about 15 minutes.
All right, let me stop right there on that one. And like I said, StreamYard is kind of wonky, so a lot of your comments are on my phone. I can't put them up for whatever reason. But shout out to everybody that's in here. For those that are coming in, we're just doing some coverage on the 5 on this submersible, not submarine. Those that corrected me, thank you so much. I'm very ignorant to this topic, but I'm learning a lot as I'm here with you guys. I just had so many questions. It sounds like this submersible has these 5 individuals bolted in, right? So it's not like they can just open the door and walk out. It doesn't work that way, right? They actually have to use a device or something to get them out of there. In addition to that, they lost contact with the mothership. Or I was going to say the motherboard, but it's the mothership. And I think it's a texting device or something that they use. They're also controlling it from the inside. Absolutely, Mike. There would be a lot of pressure for them to even try. They're saying that it's possible that it imploded, as well as they're only being, as of when this conference happened a couple hours ago, that they only had about 40 hours of breathable air. The 5 people in there. I'm in my mind, let me tell you, I'm a regular person, so I'm like, I don't know how do you sign up for something like that? I went to the website, and it sounds like this submersible was doing expeditions to the Titanic, and they had a summer schedule for 2023. They'd been doing some for quite some time. So I want to shout out the person that sent me the link to this on Twitter. Thank you. But this was literally 6 months ago. Was it 6 months ago? No, this was not it. Hold up, y'all. Let me show y'all what I'm talking about. There's another one. This was 6 months ago, featured 6 months ago, as far as this submersible being able to go, if you're like a fanatic of the Titanic and whatnot, that you can totally check this out. Is this it? Here it is. All right. And I'm looking at the date. This was December 20th of 2022. And so there's a couple of people, basically, I guess these are just Titanic enthusiasts who will pay a fortune, a small fortune, I don't know what a small fortune is, to ride an OceanGate specially designed submersible vehicle equipped with 4K video camera to visit remains of the luxury liner 13 feet underneath the North Atlantic. weather permitting. So this was originally broadcast November 27th, and this is from the CBS Good Morning America.
Talk about an offer that's hard to refuse. Our David Pogue was invited recently to join the highly select and very small group of people who've actually made it to the bottom of the Atlantic to view firsthand the eerie remains of the Titanic. It promised to be quite a journey, quite a story besides.
Maybe you've heard the story of the Titanic.
Wow. And let me try to skip through this because I have a feeling that they're going to
category. It's a new type
try to
of
copyright some
travel.
stuff.
Stockton Rush is the CEO of OceanGate, a company that offers dives to the Titanic in a one-of-a-kind carbon fiber submersible for $250,000 per person.
Who are the typical clientele for these missions? We have clients that are Titanic enthusiasts, which we refer to as Titaniacs. We have people who have mortgaged their home to come and do the trip. And we have people who don't think twice about a trip of this cost.
Okay. Okay. They have people that mortgage their homes to take a trip like this. Titaniacs, is that what they call them? These people? Listen. It's the fact that you would mortgage your home to go take a trip like this. They wouldn't think twice if you had the money. They would just go ahead and do it. I mean, let me know your thoughts, and let me keep playing this real quick.
We had one gentleman who had won the lottery.
And this summer, Rush invited us to come along. We departed from St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada, the easternmost tip of North America, about 400 miles from the Titanic.
That's the last we'll be seeing of land for 8 days.
Aboard a chartered oil rig servicing ship. During our 2-day journey into the North Atlantic, we got to know our fellow adventurers. They included everyone from Indian industry mogul Shrenik Baldota.
Yeah, they call me a wild monk.
The wild monk?
Yeah, because I look like a monk. I'm very calm, but I have these extreme interests.
To bank executive Renata Rojas.
I'm trying to fulfill a dream. I've been wanting to go to Titanic and see it with my own eyes since before they found it.
She's been saving up to see the Titanic for 30 years.
Dreams don't have a price. Some people want a Ferrari. Some people buy a house. I wanted to go to Titanic.
But the star of the show is the Titan, Stockton Rush's custom-built submersible. 5-inch thick carbon fiber, capped on each end by a dome of titanium.
All right, let me survey the people here, okay? I got about 241 people here. I want to ask you guys a question. If this was your dream, would you guys do this? Would you? And let me survey everybody, because you know how I do it over here, right? We like to survey folks and see where everybody lands with this. If let me survey y'all. If your dream is to see the Titanic, would you go? And I say this because I'm in my mind, I'm like, okay, say that somebody paid the trip for you. That's a hard look at. Yo, I haven't even put the poll up. Hold up. And it's a yes or no. Some of you guys know that you don't like my polls. That's absolutely fine. This was literally in November that they did this little coverage on this. So I mean, let me know your thoughts.
Yeah. If all went well, I myself would be spending about 12 hours sealed inside on a dive to the Titanic. Not gonna lie, I was a little nervous.
An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death.
That is what you sign. Sounds like the waiver, right? Isn't that the waiver? That's what it sounds like. It's a waiver. Let me know. This is ignorance, you said. Lord have mercy. There's the waiver, Cape. We were asking about the waiver. If it's free, you still wouldn't go? They have the risk. Oh, I mean, yeah, there's a risk. There's a risk if you go to space too. Oh my God, look at you all. I have 109 votes here, and 10% said yes, and 90% said no, a hard no. Yeah, right, Spas baby. This is the waiver. This is the waiver that they're talking about. This is crazy. All right, let me hit play.
Where do I sign?
Oh, take your shoes off. That's customary.
Okay. Wow.
Inside, the sub has about as much room as a minivan.
So this is not your grandfather's submersible. We only have one button. That's it. It should be like an elevator. You know, it shouldn't take a lot of skill.
The Titan is the only 5-person sub in the world that can reach Titanic depths, 2.4 miles below the sea. It's also the only one with a toilet, sort of. And yet, I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
We can use these off-the-shelf components.
I got these from Camper World. We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on! It seems like
This didn't age very well. They run this thing with a whole game controller. And there's one button. I'm looking at the chat. I can't, the chat on the StreamYard is wonky. Please note that I can't even put your comments up. I wish I could. I'm looking at it on my phone. Oh my God. It's as small as a minivan. Camper World. Simon's like, Camper World? What the? No. I mean, if you have a death wish, I'm sorry, yo. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
this submersible has some elements of MacGyver-y jerry-rigness. I mean, you're putting construction pipes as ballast.
I don't know if I'd use that description of it, but there's certain things that you want to be buttoned down. So the pressure vessel is not MacGyver at all, because that's where we work with Boeing and NASA and the University of Washington. Everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still going to be safe.
But when expedition manager Kyle Bingham studied the forecast for our Titanic dive, he
Did they say they were working with NASA? Did they say they were working with NASA? Anything can go. Oh, I gotta listen to that. I missed that part. Hold up. What? Hold up.
Buttoned down. So the pressure vessel is not MacGyver at all, because that's where we work with Boeing and NASA and the University of Washington. Everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still going to be safe.
But when expedition manager Kyle Bingham studied the forecast for our Titanic dive, he concluded that the waves would be too big to launch the sub.
We're looking at 6 feet, and then it bumps up a little bit.
Our Titanic adventure would have to wait. But Stockton Rush offered our CBS crew a consolation dive to the continental shelf 80 miles away.
Apparently there's a lot of sheer cliffs underwater to see, shark breeding ground.
Oh my
They say
God.
it's really cool.
The crew closes the hatch from the outside with 17 bolts. There's no other way out.
What?
Here's how the launch is supposed to go. The sub is attached to a huge floating platform. Motorboats drag it down the big orange ramp into the sea.
We're in the water, we're floating. Woo!
They are going to come and prepare the platform for the next phase, which is the sinking.
The platform submerges to around 30 feet, where the water is much calmer than on the surface.
You're in the water, people.
Divers detach the sub from the platform, and away you go, in theory.
Hull integrity, holding.
And what happened next? You won't be disappointed, as we'll show you a little later on Sunday morning.
Oh, Jesus. Hold up, y'all. Hold up, y'all. I wish I could put these comments up, and I can't. And there's so many comments right now. Look. Jenny's like, boom, what happened next? They launched it in bad condition. Girl, this is the reporter. They didn't go to that area they were supposed to go to. Layla says, I've been in submarines at Disneyland. This is, yeah, I don't know about, oh my goodness. Hold up, y'all. So Charlie says it's been debunked about NASA. The dude wanted to be an astronaut but failed eyesight vision test, so went into this route instead where it's not regulated. Well, damn, that's an easy career maker. That's like putting me in charge of a submersible. I have no clue what the hell is going on. Charlie, are you serious about this? Charlie, what is his name in the chat? Put it in the chat so I can check it out. Please and thank you. Let me is that true? This has a lot of shell and I'm interested in parts to build. It's not inspected like a submarine prior to every dive. And yes, they work with NASA. Well, is NASA still signing their name on this? Isn't Hamish the guy that one of the billionaires? He's not the one that owns it, is it? Is it the same one? I cannot. This is sad for sure. So this is supposed to be a live event? Bro, 1 in 5 launches was successful. It's very good. 1 in 5. Simon, I'm there on that one. But I'm caught up on that. So Charlie's saying the CEO. He's the one on board, right? So he won Stockton Rush. Thank you. We said the name before. He's the one that. So yes, Hamish doesn't own it. Hamish doesn't own it. Excuse me. Stockton Rush is the one that owns this vessel, and he's the one that is a failed astronaut or wanted to be an astronaut. That's scary. That's scary. Let me hit play on this.
Our dive in the OceanGate submersible had made it down only 37 feet when this happened.
So apparently those floats there came off the platform, and that wasn't supposed to happen. So we're scrubbing.
Yeah, I think that's the consensus up here.
Copy that.
I was crushed. My diving adventures were over.
Every expedition has its challenges, all of them. I have not been in one expedition where things have to be adjusted, adapted, changed, or canceled at the end of the day. You're at the mercy of the weather.
Renata Rojas speaks from painful experience. Over the years, she's been booked on 3 Titanic expeditions. All 3 were canceled.
You just cry a lot and just keep the dream alive, because it's something that I have.
She's crying because, oh my gosh, yo. He tried being an astronaut and failed the eyesight thing about 2025 vision, if I remember. Wait, isn't there one dude not talking? So it's believed that Stockton Rush is actually one of the 5 on this vessel. She's upset. The submarine community warned the safety of the life at sea, SOLAS. Oh, Jesus. This is crazy. Heck, y'all are reacting to her crying. This is her dream. You know, I am not going to be dragging this lady. Let me go back a little bit. She was upset over the rescheduling of it.
End of the day, you're at the mercy of the weather.
Renata Rojas speaks from painful experience. Over the years, she's been booked on 3 Titanic expeditions. All 3 were canceled.
You just cry a lot and just keep the dream alive, because it's something that I have to do.
Our expedition had to wait out 2 more days of rough seas. Fortunately, there's a lot to do in the North Atlantic.
I'm the king of the surface vessel!
Oh, Jesus. A little too much. Hold up, y'all. I wanted to see the other interviews. Hold up.
Deep sea biologist Steve Ross and ocean archaeologist Rob Mather join every expedition. In effect, the passengers are funding their science.
How scientific is this expedition?
I don't do show science. So our job is to do real and important and valid work.
While you're down there, will you look for this giant heart-shaped diamond on a chain?
Oh, Jesus.
I think that's not there.
On our 6th day at sea, the weather cleared. The dive was a go.
Titan sitting at 3742 meters, reports on bottom.
But that was the last of the good news.
I said, do you know where we are? 100 meters to the bow, then 470 to the bow. If you are lost, so are we.
There's no GPS underwater, so the surface ship is supposed to guide the sub to the shipwreck by sending text messages.
Turn 30 degrees right.
Probably.
This is so there's no real guide to this. This is text messages. Oh my gosh. Stockton Rush stated that this would be the first and last submerged this year as bad weather. I know. Oh, I think her life is the refund. I would call it even anyways. The mothership guides them. But they lost contact with mothership. And it's a game controller. Yes, this is scary. And text. But here's the deal. It's like, I guess my thing is this. If I was in a submersible or a submarine, like there's not even real windows or anything to say. Like, I'm not seeing that this is, it's like a little thing. And you're supposed to see the Titanic through that? You can't even take your phone to take a picture? Can you do that? I'm just, listen, I'm ignorant to this, okay? Let me hit play.
30 degrees.
But on this dive, communications somehow broke down. The sub never found the wreck.
We were lost. We were lost for 2.5 hours.
Rush says he'll offer those passengers a free do-over next year.
They were lost.
And that's just one cost of doing this business.
Are you making money on this operation? No. So not yet. People might say, hey, that's a lot of money, $250,000. But we went through over $1 million of gas.
It was our last day at sea. There was one last chance to reach the Titanic. And this time,
This
good weather and
sounds
good fortune were aligned.
experimental to me. Hold up, y'all, because it's the music I have to. It just sounds very experimental to me, like all of this. Hold up. Because you know they'll be striking if we play the Titanic theme song here.
Valuable to history.
At some point, there will be no Titanic. It will be eaten by the bacteria. It'll be an artificial reef that
I can't. I cannot. Hold up, y'all. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. Let me play another video that we have here before I have to head out. Hold up, y'all. This is CBS This Morning on this one.
We're going to begin this hour with the race to find a missing sub carrying 5 people in the North Atlantic. This is very serious stuff. The Titan was reported overdue on Sunday after diving toward the site of the Titanic shipwreck. Shipwreck, it's pronounced. CBS News' David Pogue went on board the Titan last year for a story about the sub and the company that owns it. The name of the company is OceanGate Expeditions. Here's a clip from David's story.
Titan is the only 5-person sub in the world that can reach Titanic depths, 2.4 miles below the sea. And yet, I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
So the pressure vessel is not MacGyver at all, because that's where we work with Boeing and NASA and the University of Washington. Everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still going to be safe.
Yeah.
Well, in a statement, OceanGate says this: they're exploring and mobilizing all options to bring the crew back safely. It went on to say that it's, quote, thankful for the extensive assistance that we've received from several government agencies and deep sea companies in the search. David Pogue joins us now. David, I mean, this is just terrifying and so scary. We're all thinking about the people on board.
Wow.
When you heard that they were missing and there was no contact, what were your first thoughts as someone who's been there?
I mean, this entire industry, this adventure travel industry is dangerous. Going up in the rockets, visiting the volcanoes, everybody knows the risks involved. And I can tell you that these submersibles are one-offs. It's not like iPhones, there are thousands of them that they can perfect. There's one of it. And so there are certain improvised, you know, he got the lights from Camper World. He drives the thing with an Xbox joystick game controller. So, but this is all standard in the field, and you know that it's a risk. So
But when they first lost contact, why wasn't there effort to made to get to them immediately? How long was this trip supposed to
Oh
last?
my
Number one.
gosh.
Usually it's 10 to 12 hours. It's
Okay.
2.5 hours down, a few hours at the Titanic, and then a couple hours back up. Why didn't they send the alarm sooner? I can only guess it's because things go wrong all the time in this business. The time I was there, my dive at the Titanic only lasted 37 feet down, and then it had a mechanical problem and had to be hoisted back onto the ship.
Oh my
That's
God.
very standard. So they probably thought, well, the comms will come back.
David, to expand on Gil's question, are there any outside bodies outside of OceanGate that they paid to keep eyes on the sub just in case something like this happens?
No, it's in international waters. So this sub, as you sign on the waiver, you say, I understand that this sub has not been inspected or certified by any third-party body.
That's the
And
waiver.
you know that
If you're paying that much money, wouldn't you want to have a backup plan
Or a
backup
safety plan?
to ensure your safety?
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
I should tell you that there are many safety features of this sub and of the procedures. It's run like a rocket launch. There are these long checklists, and there are twice daily briefings that everybody has to attend. There are 7 different ways to come back to the surface.
Then why haven't they? That's the real question. Why have we not seen this thing come back into the sunlight?
That is the question that makes my blood run cold. Of those 7 different ballast systems, several of them work even if there's no electricity. One of them even works if everybody's passed out. It's a time-released sandbag that after 14 hours drops off by itself. So this thing should be bobbing on the surface. If it isn't, it could only mean 2 things. Either they got snagged on something on the bottom of the sea, which is pretty unlikely. There's nothing there but the Titanic. Or there was a breach in the hull and it instantly imploded.
Wow.
What do you think has happened when you look at the two? None of those are good. What do you?
None of those are good. The fact that they lost the signal 2/3 of the way down to the floor, that's really bad. That means something probably catastrophic happened to the whole thing.
The pressure is intense, but of all the things that you say were picked up at Camper World or Xbox, the hull itself was supposed to be Boeing and NASA and impenetrable.
The hull itself it was co-designed with the University of Washington and NASA. It's 5-inch thick carbon fiber, never been done before. Everybody told Stockton Rush, the CEO and designer of the sub, that he was crazy because that doesn't work that way. But in theory, the deeper you go as the pressure builds, the tighter the water is pushing in on those silver end caps and making it more and more waterproof. So that's why I didn't worry about implosion.
But what can you tell us about this company and the people that run it? Do you think they're being transparent here?
Stockton Rush is a really interesting guy. He's built and designed airplanes. He's built and designed previous submersibles.
Oh my
He's a
God.
direct descendant of 2 of the signers of the Declaration of Independence.
Okay, wait. This is the question is very like, do you believe that okay, do y'all think that the guy, Mr. Stockton Rush, was being very transparent with everybody? I mean, he said he wasn't making money. Let me know. I mean, do you guys think that he was being very transparent with all this? Cape says if they lost pressure, it would instantly crush and they would not feel or know it happened. Maybe oh Lord. I don't know RR about that one. Love Story says no. You guys don't think he was being very transparent with people? He just wanted to get them in there, make money off of them? I don't know. Hell to the nah. Lord. Okay, this is crazy. This must be like, yo, watching that report and then watching this guy who actually went through it be there and say what he had to say. I mean, this is just crazy. Thank you, Precy. Just because your dad was a brain surgeon doesn't mean you yourself can perform. Thank you, Miss Wee Lassie. Just because your dad, yes, I would have to agree. I can't. And then, sorry, y'all, the chat is horrible on StreamYard, and it's still flaky over here on YouTube, as you can see. Oh my God, it's all commercial. It is not research. Thank you, Peekaboo. Did anyone know that there was a Titanic mission? I didn't know about the mission until it got lost. Perhaps he needed the press. A far-fetched, but anything is possible. Well, here's my question. How many other expeditions have they done before this one? That would be my question. You know, let me hit play on this.
He is, I won't say cavalier, but he did say safety is relative. If you want to live in perfect safety, don't get out of bed.
Wow. But they've had successful dives doing this, right?
They have. They've been operating
More
for
than
3
once,
summers,
yeah.
and they've been down about 25 times.
Let's end on hope. You have some. What is it and why?
The hope is quickly fading, I'm afraid, because in theory, they have 4 days worth of oxygen. It's never been tested. Nobody's ever measured it. And we're now 2 days into that. So it's half of that is gone. If they're at the bottom of the sea.
What do you mean no one has ever been down for 4 days?
Correct. No one's ever put 5 people in there and said, start the clock, let's see how long the air
in theory,
lasts.
it's supposed to have 4 days worth of oxygen, but
we don't
nobody's.
know.
Right. That's a calculation. So either they're underwater, which is devastating because even if we find them, there's no way to rescue them. The deepest submarine rescue ever performed was 1,500 feet. That's like this. This is 13,000 feet.
Oh, wow.
There's no other craft that can get down there in time.
But everybody has an idea about where they are. Why can't they just send something down to look in that area, even if there's an explosion, as you think could have happened?
Because there's
Why can't
only
they just-
3 or 4 machines that can go to that depth in the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're not, they take weeks to prepare and they're not on site.
I see.
And suppose we had one, what would we do? Try to tow this thing up? I mean, the difference between a submarine, which is a torpedo-shaped thing that drives out of port on its own, and this thing, a submersible, is that this has to be carried everywhere. It has very little power. You can see in the picture, it's just these little plastic fans, basically.
So it's supposed to drop down and then just pop back up?
That's right. They release the ballast, they release the weight, and it just rises to the surface on its own.
The other thought, I think this is part of the hope, is if it's on the surface now and it's located, it cannot be opened from the inside. So it has to be found in time. They will run out of oxygen, even if
then
they're on
open
the
from the
surface.
outside.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
We
they gotta
were
be reopened, so.
we were bolted in from the outside. There's 17 bolts
Oh,
on the outside.
man.
So the running out of air problem still affects us, even if they're at the surface right now. We need to find them.
Well, we heard someone say you need a miracle, and miracles.
Let's hope for one.
Yeah,
And
miracles
we'll have a
do.
follow-up on CBS Sunday Morning this Sunday.
All right,
Oh,
thank you.
man. Okay. Oh my gosh. This is crazy.
Submersible. The sub was exploring the wreckage of the Titanic. The sub went missing in the Atlantic Ocean near Canada.
In a statement, OceanGate, the company responsible for the vessel and the expedition, says, quote, "We are exploring and mobilizing all options to bring the crew back safely. Our entire focus is on the crew members in the submersible and their families."
CBS News correspondent David Pogue joins us now. David has done extensive reporting on these types of submersibles, including a report for CBS Sunday Morning. David, thanks for joining us. It's eerie to watch your piece now and see you down in one of these submersibles. What is it like in there?
It's about the size of a minivan. It houses 5 people. So on that sub at this moment are the pilot, a scientist, and 3 paying passengers who have paid $250,000 each for the opportunity to get on that one-of-a-kind sub and go down 2.5 miles to see the Titanic.
Talk to us, David, about how this submersible is controlled and what are communication systems like on board? Because as we saw in your Sunday Morning piece, there was a point where communication was lost with the surface for something like 2.5 hours.
This is going to sound very janky to a lot of people, but a lot of this submersible is made of off-the-shelf improvised parts. For example, you control it with an Xbox game controller. Some of the ballast are these abandoned lead pipes from construction sites. And the way you ditch them is everybody gets to one side of the sub and they roll off a shelf.
Wow.
But the guy who built this sub and who runs the company, Stockton Rush, told me, yeah, that stuff's all kind of janky, but the important thing, like the capsule that contains the people and the air, that was co-designed with NASA and the University of Washington. The part that keeps you alive is rock solid. So what concerns me is this thing has 7 different ways of returning to the surface. It has different kinds of ballast it can let go. It has an inflatable air bladder. It has propellers. So why isn't it at the surface? There is no radio and no GPS that works underwater. So you really are on your own when you're in this thing.
So why haven't they?
Wait. I'm looking at a comment here. Ocean says the Titanic had been caught. Wait, not the Titanic. The Titan had been caught in the propeller of the Titanic before as well. However, they managed to get it out and resurface and didn't lose contact with the mothership. Oh my gosh. Let me look at these comments real quick. No, thank you. I'm starting to have a panic attack in my MRI yesterday. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry, CL. Even if they found you, would have to forego getting the submersible out of the water. Just open it on the surface. Just open it on the surface. Yeah, I mean, Bowling says, at least a minivan has windows that you can open, right? Like, no, that stating the obvious right there, right? A minivan would have windows. Just saying. Carbon fiber doesn't compress, it shatters. Thank you for that comment. He sounds like a televangelist, says Patricia. And to look at the monitors, no less. Let me see. Not a good sign they have not surfaced. Thank you so much, Charlie, for coming to my chat. I appreciate you. Thank you for the education that you provided us and the correction. Michelle says, I don't think they can save them. I've heard someone who has done it last year and said you have to sign a release saying you could die. Right. The reporter had to sign a release. We talked about that release. And let me hit play so we can finish this up.
Come to the surface. One possibility is they got snagged on something. And another possibility is that there was a leak, which is very unlikely, but if there is a leak, it was over quickly.
I was going to ask you what the issues that can happen on these types of expeditions, and also any idea what might be on board to help with survival, oxygen supply, anything that might keep this crew alive for some period of time, and what sort of time crunch are they under, do you think?
The sub is said to have 96 hours of oxygen, and that takes three forms. There are carbon dioxide scrubbers, exactly the same thing you would have in a spacecraft. Then there are these emergency scrubbers. They look like fly strips. They hang from the ceiling and convert CO2 to oxygen. And then if those get exhausted, there are actual scuba oxygen tanks under the floor panels that they can put on. So in all, that's 96 hours. There's a rudimentary toilet, which amounts to little more than a couple Ziploc bags.
Wow.
And of course, they all brought snacks. So there have been times, as you mentioned, last year.
That's a good question.
They got lost on the bottom for 3 hours during the expedition that I was on.
Oh my God.
I guess what really worries me is we know that they sometimes lose contact with. They don't know where they are.
That's a good question. Tracy says, can they do satellite search from space? I don't know. I know that they have a couple craft flying over the site. And I would have to agree with you, Price, on this one. Let's all have hope for the 5 people on this vessel. Even though they're close to dying, we must still have hope. A miracle could happen and they could survive this incident. Absolutely. I'm very much hopeful for something. Why wasn't it fit with sonar like a real submarine? I don't know. It's a lot of questions. Yeah, let's just keep praying for them. I don't know what else to say. It's such a horrible situation.
But they wouldn't call for the Coast Guard unless that had been going on for some time. So my guess is that this is yesterday's expedition, and they've now been lost for 24 hours.
I, as a human, can't help but ask you how you're feeling, looking back, knowing you were on one of these and seeing what's happening now.
I stayed up all night the night before my dive. I've never done anything that could kill me before, and I was really, really scared.
Oh
then
my
I had
gosh.
a conversation with Stockton Rush, the CEO, and he said, "You're worried about the wrong things. Like getting back to the surface, running out of air, those we got covered. The things you should be worried about are these really rare things like getting snagged in one of those abandoned fishing nets that are miles long. Seems really unlikely in the North Atlantic, or, a leak, which is also really unlikely."
Oh my gosh. And thank you, Amy, for becoming a member. StreamYard is acting kind of wonky for my chat for whatever reason. I don't see the comments anymore. So just a heads up. but I see them on my device.
So I don't know what to say. It sounds bad. If all 7 methods they have of coming to the surface aren't working, then what's going on? So I'm really worried.
It is really scary. We can only hope and think of everyone down there and their families and hope for rescue and recovery.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys. Well, I have to head out. I want to thank everybody that joined me in covering and talking about this story. It's definitely very much intriguing. We're going to keep looking into it and see if we have any updates because I've learned so much. I want to thank everybody, those that corrected me and your patience for even talking about, I'm just, this is not my area of expertise. And I appreciate everybody that was patient with me. Thank you so much. I would ask that you please hit the like button. And I appreciate you. Make sure you share. And thank you so much. I will see you guys on the next one. Rabbits out. Keep all those people in your prayers, and we won't be looking at updates.